The MTN 530 News.
The sights and sounds from the very first day of school. I'm Andrea Lutz. We're bringing you that story coming up.
But some of the first day joy and jitters overshadowed by the recently implemented mask mandate, which has caused some tension between parents in schools. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm Russ Riesinger. Billings School Superintendent Greg Upham changed course over the weekend, requiring masks to be worn after citing an outbreak on the Skyview High School varsity football team. Q2's Mitch Legge speaks with Upham and has a look at the first day at Will James Middle School.
On Monday, Billings Public School staff and students went back for a brand new year of school, with a mask requirement implemented across the school district. In the afternoon, Superintendent Greg Upham pleaded for the community's cooperation as both parents and teachers work through the coronavirus pandemic together.
We'll just continue to work through this as a community. You know, I surely can understand the frustrations that everyone has with this, and the best thing to do is just to continue to communicate. I mean, those are real feelings on both sides, and we made the decision based on student health, and we'll continue to move forward.
2 days before the start of school, Upham reversed course, requiring masks in schools after a 5-case outbreak on the Skyview High School varsity football team last week. Upham said school staff will keep up with increased sanitation measures and do everything possible to keep kids in school this year. But not all parents are happy with their students being required to wear masks. Here's video on Monday from a parent at Boulder Elementary.
And we understand that these children right here are not truant. They are here and they're being denied public service through education in the state of Montana at Boulder Elementary.
Upham said he was aware of the video and told his staff to make it clear that students have the option for virtual learning. Parents will have to contact their school principal to make arrangements.
Yeah, that's what we shared with our principals, is to share with the families that, you know, there's a masking requirement in place, and we require, if you're going to come into the buildings, to have a mask. If you're not, then you're going to have to remain outside. And that was the message, a very simple message, not confrontational, just that we do have a masking requirement. We ask you to stay outside, and if you want to come in, you wear a mask.
At Will James Middle School, it was the first day back for 6th graders, new students to the school, and students who were remote last year but are coming back to the classroom this year. Principal Becky Carlson was the remote learning administrator for the district last year. On the first day, she said things went well with masks in middle school.
You know, we provided at lunchtime, having kids, you know, they don't have to have their masks on when they eat. When they're outside, they don't need to have them on. So just giving those opportunities to take breaks when needed, and the teachers have been good about trying to support that too in their classrooms. So yeah, it just seemed kind of, it was routine last year, and they picked right up with the routine again this year.
For the entirety of last school year, Billings staff and students were required to wear masks. Upham said he will continue to keep tabs on the COVID situation in schools and continue to communicate with local health officials before making any changes to the mask requirement. In Billings, Mitch Legge, MTN News.
Thank you, Mitch. Now, Carlson added that if students don't wear a mask, one will be provided to them, and if they still don't want to wear it, calls will be made to have parents pick their children up from school. Well, there are plenty of firsts all around Billings today as thousands of kids go back to school. And while there's much to talk about when it comes to COVID, vaccine, and mask mandates, there's also a lot of excitement as kids begin a new chapter in a new school year. Q2's Andrea Lutz picks up that story.
It's the first day of school in School District 2, and here at McKinley Elementary, it is a day full of excitement. And there are some changes this year, you know, that mask policy. But all in all, we're seeing kids that are excited to embark on a new adventure, and sometimes some parents that have a hard time saying goodbye.
Yeah, I've been anticipating and dreading this.
As parents cling to their little ones for one last hug.
When we have to say goodbye, I have a feeling there'll be a few tears.
And some tears are even shed. This year, the first day of school is different. This year, it's a chance to start again.
Yeah, it's been a great summer. We really maximized it, had a good time, and the kids are ready. It's been last year was kind of hit and miss, and now the kids are really excited for a full year and getting back to it.
Excited for school! The Eaton family has 2 boys enrolled this year. Mom Kara captures those final moments before they go.
West has been here before. He's going into 1st grade, and this is Porter's 1st year in kindergarten. Are you excited?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for many kids, there are nerves.
A little nervous. That's okay to be nervous. I know you're going to have a great time.
Nerves from parents, too.
I'm excited to be at McKinley, and our teacher seems awesome, but I'm still kind of panicking like sending her away for the whole day.
Emily Ronrell's daughter, Rosie, is heading to kindergarten this year.
Lots of talking with my husband, and I think just trying to stay positive and have faith that she's going to have an amazing time and an amazing experience and make lots of great friends.
This year, she's got high hopes for her girl.
Ooh, have so much fun.
Hey, I love you, buddy. I love you so much.
With one last goodbye.
Have fun. There goes your class.
And a salute to parents.
Okay.
This kindergarten class is taking their first steps.
Aww. I'm gonna miss her.
I know you are.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea. And tonight, local leaders in the healthcare community, the Billings Clinic, St. Vincent, Riverstone Health, and St. John's United all came out in support of the decision by Billings Public Schools to require masking. Health officials say the masking will help prevent the spread of the Delta variant that is responsible for the climbing case count. On a day when the Pfizer vaccine received full approval from the Food and Drug Administration, Montana crossed the 50% mark for fully vaccinated residents. Missoula County leads the way with 62% of the population fully vaccinated, while Yellowstone County remains under 50% tonight at 48% of eligible residents fully vaccinated. Powder River County and Macomb County have the lowest vaccination rates in the state at 25%. Well, here in Yellowstone County, Riverstone Health is offering 3 walk-in vaccination clinics over the next 2 weeks. The first will be held this Thursday, August 25th at South Park. That'll run from 4:30 until 6:30 in the evening. A full list of the free clinics can be found on our website, ktvq.com. Despite the vaccine news, the COVID-19 numbers continue to skyrocket across the state with 652 new cases reported today, and Yellowstone County seeing 3 new deaths. The 3 new deaths all in residents over the age of 60 and all with underlying health conditions. 2 of those patients were unvaccinated. And now the Billings hospitals are at their greatest capacity of COVID-19 patients since December of last year, with 81 people currently in the hospital tonight. 19 of those patients are in the ICU with 12 on ventilators. Statewide, there are currently 220 people hospitalized with COVID-19. Montana's death toll is now approaching 1,800 since the pandemic began. On the wildfire front, firefighters were greatly helped by last week's rain and cooler weather. Currently, there are 52 active burnings through the state, with only 2 coming in the last 24 hours. State's largest wildfire, the Richard Spring Fire between Colstrip and Lame Deer, is now 100% contained, but did burn more than 171,000 acres. The Lame Deer Fire, which caused the evacuation of the entire town at one point, is also 100% contained tonight. The Robertson Draw Fire near Red Lodge, which was the first major wildfire to break out this year, is 90% contained now. Overall, the state has seen more than 2,000 fire starts since the beginning of the year. Now turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh. And Ed, there's a quick change in the weather pattern coming up. What are we talking about?
There's a cold front sinking down across the region, and while we still saw a lot of smoke today, a lot of it was from out-of-state smoke. This is the way it's coming together. The yellow and red, especially the red shaded areas, show where we have a lot more smoke, and the blue arrows show the winds. And while the temperatures were much warmer this afternoon, as the front punches through, likely making it to the Billings area somewhere around 9 o'clock, it'll produce some stronger wind gusts, and the winds start to shift down from the north. But notice it's taking the smoke along with it. In fact, a lot of the smoke clears out tonight heading into tomorrow, and it'll also bring us a much cooler day pretty much all across the state. A lot of the smoke will stay down into Idaho and Wyoming. We'll take a closer look at the forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you, Russ.
All right, thank you, Ed. Now we take a look at the good that's going on across our state with this edition of Positively Montana.
A new $2.2 million federal grant will now help support students enrolled in Montana State University's Caring for Our Own nursing program. The majority of those dollars will go directly towards helping students in the program turn their dreams into reality. Dreams to enter the medical field and take their skills back home to bring change to their communities. I got to meet some of the students who just learned they'll benefit from that new funding.
Seeing it just seems like a great opportunity to make people feel better. This is Cheyenne Whiteman, a sophomore from Crow Agency, currently enrolled in Montana State University's Caring for Our Own program for Native American nurses. She's one of 15 nursing students who will benefit from a 4-year nursing workforce diversity grant.
Oh, I think it's really special because Native Americans are such a minority, and not a lot of people know what a Native American is. It's just oh, they see the stereotypes on TV, what an Indian is, the Western TV shows, and to see them doing real things like being nurses, being in different professions is kind of breaking a stereotype, which I think is super important.
It was Cheyenne's grandmother, Rosie Doyle, who inspired her to become a nurse.
I live in the country there, and it's just growing up. My grandma was a nurse, and she was a nurse for so long. We go, and everyone's oh, I wish your grandma could still give me shots. And I just saw how special it was to her. The healthcare on reservations is kind of rough. IHS has been through, a lot, and I think it's really important to get people from a reservation into hospitals and clinics on the reservation, because no one knows a Native American like another Native American, and having culturally appropriate healthcare is super important, because then we know what topics are sensitive and just how to serve our people.
Cheyenne is just one of 72 students enrolled in the co-op program. The new grant now means almost every one of those students will be able to receive some kind of funding. They tell me they come from areas where not a lot of natives are going to school, many because they simply can't afford to. Now they say they have a better shot at graduating and inspiring others back home that they can do the same.
I think they're going to be proud to hear that. I know my family is proud. My grandma especially is very excited for me.
Each student explained they had to overcome challenges to make it here, like Danielle Tapaha. She grew up on the Navajo reservation.
We have the biggest tribe in the U.S., and my reservation covers 4 states. The biggest tribe. It's hard for a lot of us to get scholarships, and there's a lot of students. I was so happy. I was just filled with overjoy that I actually can get into this program, and that it's being paid for me is just another blessing.
Others say simply leaving the reservation is the biggest challenge of all.
Mostly because a lot of natives are family oriented, and I just feel like they have close families and they don't want to leave each other.
Dr. Laura Larson says that's exactly why the Caring for Our Own program's emotional support and the funding it offers are so important. The money is one thing. The program's tight-knit community is another. Keys to making sure these nurses graduate, creating a more diverse workforce to change the face of healthcare.
So that would be in this state that we'd have 6 to 7% of our nurses would be American Indian, and right now we're less than 1% of our nurses are American Indian. So that's important that we have providers who understand us and that we trust with our health care. And so what the research shows that outcomes are better if Native American families have care from Native American nurses. About 90% of our students from the last 20 years have all gone to practice in rural parts of Montana.
They are educated in Montana and they stay in Montana. That's what brings us to Tina Redstar. She's the Assistant Director of Nursing at Crow Hospital. She came to speak to students during orientation as they prepare for classes.
It's worth the sacrifice.
She says every hand up, every word of encouragement makes a big impact.
It's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it in the end, because I've been there, done that, and felt like I wasn't going to make it at a couple times, but I pushed through, and now I'm the Assistant Director of Nursing at the Crow Hospital. So.
Proving they can push through is exactly what each student here says they aim to do for a better life for themselves, for better health care for Montana.
My great-grandmother always told us and told my whole family that our community will support us, so what you need to do is give back to your community, and that's what I intend to do.
Almost every aspiring nurse I spoke with explained a family member in the nursing field helped fuel their dreams to go into healthcare. 90% of the $2.2 million goes directly to pay student scholarships, for tuition, for fees, books, and supplies. Co-op supports both undergraduate and graduate students with advising and also tutoring. Students say it's a group that's like a family and one of the main reasons they chose MSU. In Bozeman, Holly Brantley, MTN News.
Thanks, Holly. Coming up, more about how the body of a hiker missing for weeks in the Beartooths was finally found.